Hi and welcome back to the Stained Canvas. Today I'm going to show you a little tutorial on air dry clay and sticking it on a stone tile. Um, and these tiles I got from my neighbor who was refacing their fireplace, and these were scraps, and I asked if I could have a couple, and they said yes. So I'm picking the smaller one because I feel like the crack down the center will be perfect for vining and I don't know, I just had a really big inspiration when I saw this one. So today I'm going to be doing a flowering vine. And the air dry clay that I'm using is just the Crayola air dry clay that you could get at Michael's. And if you have a coupon, it's only $6 for like a 1 kilogram tub. I think it's a 1.3 kilogram tub, so it's quite a bit of clay. You'll also need a little bit of water and a new toothbrush that you're only going to use to do the clay, because you're going to need it to scratch up the clay to make it stick to the tile, and then also to make it stick to itself. You'll see me quite often doing this technique. But first off, what I'm doing is I'm just making coils with little balls of clay. Coils, essentially like when you're in kindergarten and you make a little snake out of the clay. So you take a piece of clay and you roll it up and you make a worm or a snake, and then you're going to scrape it up with your toothbrush and then lay it down. Now, the second part that once those coils are down on the clay, or on the tile rather, I'm going to take little balls of clay and I'm going to squish them to make petals. So I'm making the big flower right now. And all you do is roll it up in your hand, smoosh it, make sure it's kind of like a flower petal shape. And then you're going to take the toothbrush, scratch the bottom where it's going to stick to the center flower. The ends of these flower petals, I want to flip them up a little. I don't actually want them laying flat on the tile, the stone tile, because I want it to have a 3D look to it. I don't want it to be just flat flowers, right? So here we go. We're just going to do a 5-petaled flower. So I'm going to do one more, scrape it up with my wet toothbrush, and press it down into the center. And I'm going to take another little ball and then just make sure that one goes on top of the center there. So that's like, the pollen part of the flower. And then I grab a tool that's an embossing tool. This is just a tool with a little tiny round ball on the end of it, and I'm using it to make dots. If you don't have one of these tools, you could totally use a Q-tip, whatever you have. End of a pencil, but you might get pencil lead marks on it. So if you're planning on painting this thing after, that's cool. You can use a pencil. But I would recommend like a tooth, something pokey. So like even a safety pin or something like that. So the next step, if you can tell, like if you can see, I'm just making sure the petals of the flower are up. So second step is to make the greenery part, so the leaves part, and it's essentially the same as a petal, except instead of just pressing it flat, you're actually going to point the end a bit, because in my make believe world, this flower's leaves are pointed. And then once you have them on, you're going to scrape it up, make sure it's got enough water on the back to stick to the tile. And then I'm going to take my tool again and I'm going to make the veining of the leaves. So you just run up the center of the leaf and then you do those little diagonal lines off that center line for the veins of the leaf. And then I'm going to go in with another one on the bottom, but I'm going to show you here how to make a closed flower bud. So you're going to roll a piece of clay about the size of a Tic Tac. So Tic Tacs are little candies if you don't have them where you are. Very small little round candies. And then you're going to take some more little balls of clay and you're going to smush them because those are the petals. If you see here, I'm just laying them on top of the Tic Tac shaped center, and I'm making sure there's enough like scratched up clay and water. And I'm only pressing the bottom of the flower bud because I want the top petals of this flower to be away from the center. So it's like it's just opening. And then you'll see I'll take my tool again and I'll be sure to press down press open for, first of all, press open the petals, and then I would use it to press down where my flower meets my vine because I want to be sure that this is going to stick on. So that's another thing, just to be mindful that your joints where you're adding clay to clay, you want to make sure they're moist enough and they're scratched up enough that it kind of glues to itself. If it's not, you'll find that once it's drying, it will fall off or it'll crack in that spot because it's not wet enough. I'm just going to make another little leaf underneath that one petal, and it's the same as I did the bigger leaves. You're just making a point, adding it, making the line a little bit later, and then I'm going to add in two more buds, the two more flower buds. So same thing, little tiny tic-tac sized center, and then 3 outer petals that you're going to attach by the bottom. You're just rolling a ball, flattening it, making sure it's super sticky with your toothbrush. Like scratch up the end of it and then attach that back onto the bud. And then I'm just going to go in, same thing, take the bottom, attach it to wherever I want to attach it to. I'm going to be sure that it's stuck really well with my little tool and stuff. And then the third one is going to be up closer towards the large flower. Same thing though, exact same little tiny center, 3 petals all around. Make sure it's kind of open more. And then right up where those 2 leaves are, right underneath the large one, that's where I'm going to stick it, right in the middle there, because I feel like it needs something there. And then I'm just going to do that right here. See how I've scratched it up and it's making sure the petals are not touching the center. And we're going to stick it in. And now this very important, make sure it is connected properly. Now I'm going to make coils again. Just taking a little ball of clay, rolling it between my hands. If you feel more comfortable rolling it on the counter, you can go ahead and do that. And I'm just going to make sure that it is the size I want. Like, so these ones I want smaller than the main coil thing. Oh, yeah, I'm going in and making sure we're connected. But in a second, I will be doing the coils. So I'm going to make a snake, essentially, because it's going to need it. Also, I make 3 coils on this one, 3 vines popping off, and I decide to take off the bottom one. I don't like it, so I remove it before it gets time to dry. But see, I'm just very easily making sure it's scraped up, and it actually kind of helped me by rolling it. And then I'm just going to attach that, and you see I'm pressing, making sure it attaches to the main trunk of the vine. So yeah, here we go. This is the somewhat finished. It's going to dry, and then you're just going to clean up the tile. So I hope you liked today's video, and like, subscribe. Thank you for watching, and have a great day, guys.